killing spree.
The experience of playing Halo Infinite is joyful, and what more can you ask for when it comes to a free-to-play online multiplayer shooter? And that's not to say that Halo Infinite is without flaws, but 343 Industry has stuck the landing on what matters the most, as Halo Infinite feels great.
Welcome to Paradise. It's a beautiful day, sunny skies, no sign of rain, and just a small chance of being found and destroyed any second.
What did I tell you about being funny?
Keep doing it?
Correct.
Similar to Halo 4 and Halo 5 Guardians, the narrative basis for Halo Infinite's multiplayer is a Spartan training program. With both Master Chief and the UNSC Infinity marked as missing in action, and the threat of Cortana still at large, you join a team of Spartans at a secure facility and prepare for the coming fight. The multiplayer feels like old-school Halo, but tweaked to better fit the modern FPS player base that has fallen in love with shooters that accentuate their solid gunplay with smooth movement and quick-to-deploy abilities. Halo Infinite leans into the traditional rhythm of the series' firefights. It's a dance that will feel familiar to longtime fans, but it also now feels unique in today's shooter climate with the longer time-to-kill rate. Each Spartan's rechargeable shield divides combat into two distinct parts. While shielded, you can take more risks and utilize weapons that take longer to have an immediate payoff. But when that shield is gone, you're vulnerable, and the need to take more evasive maneuvers or pull out a faster hitting weapon increases. If you can last long enough, your shield will recharge, reverting you back to the first phase. As all players are tied to these constraints, fights are typically less about what weapon you have and more about how you choose to use it. Halo has consistently been a game of skill that rewards players for fighting intelligently and knowing how to best defeat an opponent, and Halo Infinite sticks to that trend. Equipment complements the gunplay, with every piece of equipment being useful in some way, and most being useful in different ways from mode to mode. Brief cooldowns, limited uses, and the need to collect them keeps each piece of equipment from being spammed, ensuring skilled use of firearms remains the key component to Halo's in-match meta. Halo Infinite's movement mechanics pair well with the game's firearms and equipment, encouraging fast and aggressive play. The slide in Halo Infinite feels especially good. It's as essential to combat as strafing or jumping when it comes to avoiding shots, and can be used to swing around a corner and surprise your opponent. Of the new school shooter mechanics that make their way into Halo Infinite, the ping system is the only one to really fall short. Halo's core formula wasn't built with a ping system in mind, and Halo Infinite isn't restructured to address that fact. The ping itself isn't very informative. Though it thankfully does tell squad mates how many enemies are at a location, it doesn't provide context when pinging a place on the map. That can make it tricky to discern whether a teammate is saying to look at a spot, defend a spot, or attack a spot. Putting the ping on the D-pad on a controller also makes it hard to use the mechanic in the midst of a fight. Given how many objective-based modes are in Halo Infinite, a ping system is a smart idea for helping teams coordinate their efforts. However, the existing system isn't all that helpful or easy to use, and since so few people use it, players aren't conditioned to take heed of it and largely ignore it when their allies do happen to use it. When you're ready to fight, there are 4 available playlists in Halo Infinite's multiplayer. Bot Bootcamp hosts an assortment of 4v4 modes, but set in a PvE setting, allowing new faces to test and improve their skills prior to diving into online matchmaking. Quick Play and Big Team Battle are Halo Infinite's 2 casual online multiplayer playlists. The first includes the game's assortment of 4v4 game types, while the second is 12v12. And finally, Ranked Arena presents competitive variations of what's found in Quick Play, pushing you to go up against similar skilled players in attempts to rise in rank. As Halo Infinite's multiplayer has launched in open beta, not all modes are live in the game. Elimination, for example, is absent. At launch, Halo Infinite has 7 modes. Save for Slayer, all the modes in Halo Infinite are objective-based, where securing the most kills isn't the goal for winning the game. The challenge of how to achieve these objectives adjusts to which map you're playing on, which is dependent on which playlist you're queuing into. Bot Bootcamp, Quick Play, and Ranked Arena feature smaller maps, most of which incorporate twisting corridors that prioritize remaining hyper-aware of your immediate surroundings, and staying ready to pop off in an intense firefight.
Double kill.
Big Team Battle takes place on significantly larger maps, all of which encourage smart player rotation. Being a good shot is still important, but knowing how to most efficiently get from point A to point B is even more critical, as you can be spawned a long sprint away from the objective that needs you. It's an altogether solid library of maps, There are a few that annoy me whenever they pop up, notably High Power because of how unfairly overpowered the Wasp is on that map, and Behemoth because its wide open layout and inclusion of vehicles isn't a great fit for the 4v4 playlists. Overall though, Halo Infinite has kicked off with a welcome diversity of fun arenas. Bazaar and Recharge are my two favorites, featuring prominent open middle spaces for those brave enough for a hectic shootout, while the outer rims of both maps encompass multiple levels of hallways and rooms for those looking for a longer, but typically safer trip around the map. Fragmentation is also really fun. You can't go wrong with a Halo map that's two bases sitting across from one another in a long canyon. Halo Infinite also builds on the series' collection of firearms, adding an assortment of new guns to obliterate, melt, zap, and crush your enemies to death. The core formula remains unchanged. Alien weapons vaporize Spartan shields while human firearms tear through the unprotected fleshy bits. Halo Infinite's new weapons fit right in. Most are designed with secondary effects or fire modes that, when strategically used, lead to satisfying results. The sound design for all the weapons is superb. Even if you can't see an enemy, you can immediately identify what weapon they're using based on the sound it's making. This helps ensure the outcomes of firefights lean towards skill as opposed to luck. In the few seconds that a fight lasts, visual and auditory cues can tune you into what your foe is using against you, informing how you can respond to beat them. Deaths of comedic misfortune still happen. This is still Halo, but they aren't what you'll usually endure. For the most part, the better player will come out on top. But again, save for Slayer, getting kills isn't usually the most important goal for a match. And even if Slayer is all you want, you're currently out of luck. There are no game type specific playlists in Halo Infinite at launch. Instead, 343 Industries has chucked Halo Infinite's assortment of modes and maps into each of its 4 multiplayer playlists, and you're randomly thrown into one mode depending on which playlist you pick. Beyond going into custom games and making your own playlist, there's currently no way to curate what you specifically want to look for beyond whether you want to play 4v4, 12v12, or 4v4 ranked. I can certainly see the appeal of it. Without this format, I doubt my friends and I would have regularly played or even tried many modes beyond Slayer, but as it happens, we've come to really like Infinite's Oddball, Capture the Flag, One Flag Capture the Flag, Total Control, and Strongholds modes. This current playlist format ensures that every player gets a healthy dose of every mode. If you've never touched Halo in your life, Infinite is a continuous sample platter to give you a taste of what's on offer, helping you find new favorites to enjoy. There is a downside to this though. You'll notice I didn't mention that I enjoy Stockpile. That's because I don't like Stockpile. I don't want to keep playing Stockpile. It's essentially a much slower variation of Capture the Flag, and with teams needing to capture 5 batteries to win a round, it can feel like matches are going on for way too long. Halo Infinite is just a better game when players are running around and shooting, not slowly walking around with glowing batteries and being shot to death in seconds. But there's no option to filter out Stockpile. So though it has its merits in encouraging players to try multiple game modes, Halo Infinite's lack of playlist curation ultimately means that you'll occasionally be put into modes that you may not want to play. That can be frustrating, especially if you don't have too much time in your schedule and just want to play what you want to play. It really doesn't help that in-game progression is also entirely tied to completing daily and weekly challenges, and several weekly challenges are tied to playing specific modes. So when you queue, in hopes of getting a match in the mode you need, you might at first be put into numerous modes you don't need to play. It's very frustrating, especially if the matches you're playing in the meantime aren't doing much towards your in-game progression. 343 Industries has at least added a repeatable daily challenge where completing a match earns you some XP, so no match is a total wash, but given that the daily challenge's reward is so small, progression is still largely tied to weekly challenges where rewards are more substantial. So as fun as Halo Infinite is to play, skillfully playing objectives and just being a good teammate isn't rewarded through the progression system. As it stands, it's incredibly tedious to earn anything in Halo Infinite, short of dropping real-world money and buying Battle Pass levels or cosmetics from the in-game store. Not an especially compelling solution. Despite these issues, however, I keep coming back to the fact that Halo Infinite is just fun to play, with or without those rewards. Halo Infinite's online multiplayer takes everything that is good about Halo and amplifies it with the faster pacing and abilities of more modern-day shooters. Not every new mechanic and feature fits Halo's established formula. The ping system isn't very informative, and tying all in-game progression to daily and weekly challenges leads to an unrewarding system. But the sound design is spot on. Most of the maps are thoughtfully designed, weapons hit with a gratifying kinetic energy, and the game rewards skill. Even if it's still an open beta, Halo Infinite's multiplayer is already a great free-to-play shooter.
Perfect.